Hello everybody, HyperSlayer72 here, and welcome to another video. Today we are back on Wizard101, and we will be doing something a little bit different. Today I will be showing you my different deck setups as a Storm Wizard. Now, a lot of the things that I will show you will only apply to Storm, but a lot of them can be applied to other schools when it comes to making decks. So let's go ahead and get right started, and want to get started with this and begin by looking at what I have in my decks list. So I have renamed all of my decks, and I have a total of 8. Let's go ahead and start with my most basic deck. It is what I have equipped at all times, or at least when I am not fighting a boss or in another scenario. My main deck as a Storm is pretty much just these cards, really. Some Tower Shields, Max Colossals, 3 Sirens, 3 Tempests, some Blades, and Elemental Shields, along with a Cleanse Charm. These cards that you see here are what I myself have personally found to be absolutely necessary when it comes to fighting main mobs, or mobs that you will get a quest to kill, like 6 red caps or something like that. This is the deck that I will be using it for. Now, there's one other scenario, and that would be when I'm fighting a set of mobs that are of my same school, that being Storm. And when that happens, I would equip my Myth main deck. Now, the reason I named it Myth instead of Storm is because it allows me to deal Myth damage. So let's go ahead and view the deck, and as you can see, it looks quite similar to my main deck. In fact, it is identical, excluding the fact that I have also added in Mass Storm Prisms. Now, if you are a lower level and have yet to gain the Mass Storm Prism spell from Avalon, do not worry, you can easily add in Storm Prisms instead of Mass Storm Prisms. I just use Mass Storm because it converts it for all enemies, and seeing as when I am fighting main mobs, it's most likely, or the reason I'm most likely fighting them is because I have to kill multiples of them. Therefore, I would be fighting multiple enemies of my same school, which is why Mass Storm makes it much more easy to deal with them. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on. I've shown you my main deck and my Myth main deck, but now I still have 6 more decks to show you. Now let's start with my next most basic, being my boss deck. My boss deck, as you would expect, is for when fighting bosses, and yeah. So instead of the 2 Tower Shields, can become more important in a boss fight, so I include 4 of them. I also, as always, have the 6 Colossals and 4 Feints. Now, in this case, I add the Feints, seeing as usually except in some occasions, you will be fighting only one boss. So I do not need to worry about using all hit spells. So I put in some Feints to deal extra damage. And as a Storm, damage is really going to be your main priority. So I again have some cleanses in here, just in case I'm fighting someone and they put like a weakness on me. So, excluding that though, I have now, instead of adding in 3 Sirens and 3 Tempests, I have added in 2 Levies, seeing as Levies are important for hitting a direct enemy. And I also have Sirens and Tempests, and just in case I don't have enough pips, or I'd like to hit all enemies instead of just one. So that's why I covered all those scenarios. Now again, I have my Blades, but I also have an extra 5 spells, that being my Traps and my Supercharges. Actually, that was 6, but either way, Supercharges are nice in some ways. They usually aren't used for anything except trying to hit 1 in a million, but in scenarios where you may be fighting a boss that you can't trap, that might be one of his cheats. The Supercharges can be very useful to replace a trap, or if you just feel like dealing an insane amount of damage. Now, this is my personal preference for having these in here. You may see them as useless and might want to remove them. So again, completely your preference on that fact. Let's go ahead and move over to my Myth Boss deck. And this is again for when I'm fighting a boss of my same school. And it is absolutely identical to my boss deck, except I have Mass Storm Prisms in. Now this is the next thing. For boss decks, I now have a second Myth Boss deck. Now the reason I have this is because when things can get more complicated, especially when you incorporate Mass Storm Prism, seeing as a single prism is 0 pips and allows you to still keep gaining pips, which is useful, very useful. Whereas Mass Prism will use up a power pip upon casting, or will eat up 2 clean pips, which is really, you don't really want that in a lot of occasions, especially if you're trying to hit really quickly. So I have also added in Myth Boss Deck 2. This is the same thing as Myth Boss Deck 1, except instead of Mass Prisms, I have Storm Prisms. The reason I have them here is just in case let's say I'm fighting a single boss. He has no minions, and he is the School of Storm. So instead of wanting to waste 2 pips on a Mass Storm, which would be useless because there isn't more than one storm target, I will simply use a 0 pip prism, allowing me to kill faster and get more pips. So this also can be fit into a situation. Let's say you're fighting a boss, but the minions are storm. Let's say you're fighting, there's only 1 minion there that's storm though. This is where prisms would be useful. But if you're fighting a boss with 3 minions, you might want to use the Mass Prisms. So yeah, let's go ahead and keep going. I only have a few more decks to show you. Those are my main ones though. Those 5 are really what I want you guys to be focusing on. Now the next thing I have is my shield deck. Now, my shield deck really isn't anything special. It's more or less just a bunch of random cards that I spieled in there just in case I was trying to help support a teammate. Put in a bunch of reshuffles, which I did not touch on. I put a reshuffle in all of my decks, just a single reshuffle, in case I run out of cards or something like that. Just always as a, anti, oh my god, I ran out of all my cards time thing. But anyways, I have 6 tower shields. I'm not going to go over every single card. You guys can see them. Again, as you can see, this is more or less directed towards supporting helping someone kill instead of my killing myself. Yeah. Now, again, I really didn't want to touch on that one a lot because this is really not necessary. I just sort of made it because I felt like it. Yeah. And if you were a life or another school who trained into life, you might want to have, instead of shield, you might want to have this be a healer deck, so you can only heal a target instead of having to sift through your deck for heals. You have a deck directed specifically towards heals, which can be useful. Okay, now last one, that being I'm gonna ignore 1v1. That's stupid. That's just for PvP. I'm not going to cover PvP. This is really mainly for questing. So let's go ahead and open up my large deck. And as you can see, I really don't have a lot of cards in here right now. The reason for that being is because I'm currently grinding Split Hoof Barbarians for couch potato seeds. And so instead of messing with my other deck and removing every single card and setting it to this is pretty much my random deck. If I'm fighting a boss who cheats and I would need to or want to add in or remove some cards, this is what I will use instead of damaging my specific decks here. So yeah, that's really all that I can say. If you're fighting a cheaty boss, or wanting to have only a few cards in your deck for a specific time, this is what I use. So there you all go. I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you agree or understand with my method of creating these decks, which is of course to eliminate as many cards as possible to allow for you to get your needed card faster, I have a lot of friends, and I do have a friend, Gary Apple. If you were to look at his deck, he literally fills it up to the brim with as many cards as he possibly can. He calls it his tank deck. And every single time that I need him to cast a spell, he almost never has it. So that's why I made him these decks, but he really doesn't touch them anymore, unless he just changes them around for cheaty bosses. But that's sort of my point, guys. So don't make one deck with every single card that you've ever gotten in the game in there. Don't do that, really. Take the time to look at your spells and really say, okay, in what scenario will I need this? Or will I ever need this? And then, make these decks. You can easily rename the decks by going to your spell list. Then on the top left-hand corner, you will see this button called Name Your Deck. You click here, you can set it to a school name. You can set, attack 1v1, 1v through 1v4, healer, tank, damage over time, main, boss, PvP, small, stuff like that. And then you can also number them, which is what I did with Myth Boss Deck 2, and so on. So, thank you all for watching. Leave a like if you like the video. Leave a dislike if you think that this is all stupid and ain't nobody got time for that. And, yeah, thank you all for watching, and goodbye.